What's up? I'm Eric.
I'm Junior.
So today we're gonna go over log, specifically log for reps like off your chest, because we've been seeing that a lot more in like strongman competitions, especially in like the lower weight class, like divisions, which I compete. I compete at 90 kilos. I won California Strongest Man in 2021. Competed at Worlds, Nationals. So I do have some type of credentials for this. Junior. CrossFit athlete.
A CrossFit athlete. I don't do log, but
He's very good at like cycling through like, you know, barbell movements, which is kind of what we're gonna do, right? We're gonna try to like teach you how to cycle through a barbell. I mean, a log. It's like similar to like a barbell, like you would see a CrossFit athlete do, right? When they're cycling through those wads, you know. So first things first, we're gonna go over hand placement on the log. Okay. We're gonna be pressing from the blocks today.
I just want to point something out. This is not your typical technique. This is not your cookie cutter or anything like that. This is just a technique that works for him, and hopefully it'll work for you guys. And the things that he has found to be beneficial in his career.
Right. Yeah. And this is like one of my favorite events. I'm pretty good at it, I would say.
What's your top log?
My best log.
Yeah, your best log.
My best log is 330, right? But I'm like very efficient at like cycling a log. So yeah, my max would be like 330, which is good, but like I can cycle a 270 log for 10 reps, you know, in like 45 seconds, a minute, because that's what we're gonna have in competition, right? You're gonna have like a minute, do this as many times as you can. Now cleaning, pressing a log, for as many reps as you can, a little different. But today we're just gonna talk about cycling the log from the shoulders. That's what we're just gonna start from the blocks, okay? So first things first, we're gonna talk about like my hand placement, where I like my hands on the log. So you have center, I'll like typically my thumb up here. I go a little bit above midline, right? So the log, like my hand's more pushed towards the top, okay? Not all the way to the top. That's why I use my thumb to gauge it. So I go about a half an inch away from the top with my thumb, and I'm cycling right there. Okay, that's where my hand placement is gonna be for both of them. Now this is a challenging thing for a lot of people, is actually like getting the log into position from like blocks or from a rack. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how to do that. So push the log forward. So I'm dipping under. Make sure the blocks are pretty low too. Okay, so you don't want to be cycling through and hitting the blocks. So I'm gonna roll the log into my chest, high elbows already, getting it in that position, and then I'm coming up. Okay. So again, breath, just like that.
We'll take it from this angle so he can see where his elbow placement is.
All right, so now we're gonna talk about like one thing that people have a problem with is like keeping their elbows high in the lift. So what we see a lot is like people dropping their elbows, okay, on a log press, especially for reps because you get fatigued. So get in position, pull the log up, high elbows. You wanna talk about it?
Yeah.
So you have high elbows.
So you got high elbows, and look at his chest. His chest, his lats are popped out. He has a huge shelf here to make sure that log is resting up high on the chest. And
So
then
press like that, okay? Head through. I take my breath. See how my elbows? See my elbows stayed high, kept receiving that log. So I came down high, right into my throat almost, right? There's times where I come down, it's like hit me in the throat. I'm just like, thought I broke my fucking, whatever that's called. So you just come down really high. So I'm receiving it slowly. I'm not dropping this log down, okay? I'm receiving it slowly, right into that shelf, and then pushing right away, okay?
let's take it again from that from the side.
From the
angle.
side?
Yeah.
So now we're gonna show you from the side angle view, right? So what we see a lot of people do, they're here, when they go to press, they drop those elbows. Do you see that? Boom, elbows drop, even just slightly. We don't wanna do that. So, from here, slowly, elbows high, see? Boom, press. We're gonna come back down slowly, breath. Boom, right into it, okay? Elbows high. Boom. Okay? So that's what we're trying to cycle. That's what I mean by like cycling a log. Taking that breath at the top. Boom. Press. Breathe. straight into it. We're not resting with the log just pressed against us. 'Cause that's just energy, too much energy just wasted holding that log, because we're just trying to get it off our chest as much as possible. So when we're at the bottom here, all I'm thinking about is getting the log. I'm trying to throw it through the ceiling. I'm trying to get it off me as hard as possible. So when I'm at the bottom, I'm initially starting that drive, driving my elbows up high, like trying to throw it through the roof, okay? So here, boom, all the way through, boom, again. And you can do this. I typically prefer a push jerk. I'm not really a push press fan, because when I'm cycling a barbell or a log, boom, like where I get fatigued first is like my hips, my legs. So like, but what's good is those fatigue like slower than my shoulders would, right? Because if you're push pressing, you're using so much energy here. So that's why typically I've been done really well at a log press for reps, just from the shoulder. Boom, boom, boom. Okay? So remember, breathe into the chest, pinching those lats forward, keeping those elbows high, tight.
Making sure you're tight.
Nothing should be loose, okay? When you're here, I'm squeezing, okay? My hand grip, I'm squeezing through my lats, right? My grip on the log though, semi-loose. You don't want to be super tight on it. So I have like semi-loose grip on the handles, okay? But everything else, tight. So not a super squeeze on the log handles themselves, okay? Semi-loose. My hands are almost open right here, but everything else is tight, okay? Keeping a loose grip on that log, for me, is like almost mental, because I'm thinking about releasing it up at the top and then just re-catching it, if that makes any sense. So I'm trying to throw it off me, but if my hands are really clasped, I'm just holding it, as opposed to like releasing and catching, if that makes any sense.
So with the loose grip, how I felt on a barbell is that, and I'm sure it goes to the log too, is that if my hand is tight, all this is tight. My triceps, my lats is tight. So when I'm dipping, there's a moment in time where that barbell is disconnected from my shoulders, which loses all momentum of actually dipping with that barbell and driving up.
Right, because
Yeah.
even like when you're cycling a barbell, you know, your hands are like, they're here, elbows high, similar. We're trying to do the same thing with the log. Keep those elbows as high as possible, but it's a little different because the log is out in front of you quite a bit. So to counter that, we're having to lean back, okay? But just like a barbell, they have like, what, 2 fingers, 3 fingers on that log, but everything else is tight, right? Obviously they can't grip it when they're 3 fingers on that thing, but they're trying to throw it through the roof and then catch it.
at the
And we're trying to think the same thing with the log, okay? So kind of a semi-loose grip on that log, keeping everything else tight. So when we're cycling, boom, right into it, right? Keeping it tight, and I think in my head, slow motion, right? So I'm going slow, boom, and then catching, okay?
And I just wanted to point out, I mean, you did repeat it a couple of times, and I just want everybody to know that you're breathing every rep.
Breathing every rep at the top, okay? I don't care what the weight is typically. It's just like I'm cycling through that, keeping the breath at the top, right? Just because I'm breathing hard into my chest, trying to create tightness when I come down with that log, okay?
And another thing is that your legs, your feet, you don't typically bend your knees on the way down. Like, I mean, you don't tiptoe and
and
try to grab
kind of
it.
like recoil, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So with a barbell, that's pretty efficient, but with the log, because right here, with the log, it's gonna be out in front of you. You're gonna be catching it in this position, so it's not very efficient to catch it on your toes. As a barbell, you can kind of come up and catch it. With a log, you're gonna be positioned here, so I'm catching it flat heels, but I am trying to recoil down and then just explode into the movement.
I think we covered everything.
Yeah, that's pretty much
Is there
the
anything
log
else?
cycling for reps. No, the next one though, we're gonna talk about my accessories for primarily the cycling overhead, because that's kind of like my specialty, right? So we're gonna talk about cycling a barbell actually too. We're gonna come out with that one. So we're gonna learn how to cycle a barbell similar to what we just cycled a log. A little different, obviously. And then our tricep accessories and just our general accessories for building like a really strong overhead, especially cycling for reps. Because the lighter weight classes, a lot of us, we cycle these like weights, you know? It's not just like, hey, go out there and do a log max. I've done 20 competitions. I've done 3 competitions where it's a max log, you know, like a last man standing log press. Typically, you're gonna be either cleaning pressing each one or just cycling a log off the shoulders. Okay? Sound good?